In health headlines, you can now order more free COVID-19 tests from the federal government. The release of more tests comes ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday and travel season, which has led to a surge in COVID cases, according to doctors. Households can order 4 free tests through covidtest.gov, which directs you to a U.S. Postal Service site. The tests will start shipping next week. We have a very special treat for you right now. This is Fox 45's Maxine Stryker welcoming her family's new baby girl, Marlo Stryker, into the world, weighing in at 6 pounds, 11 ounces. Marlo is a healthy little bundle of joy who came just a little early. Congrats to Maxine, husband Sean, and Macklin, who just became a proud big brother.
And congratulations to the Strykers there. We've got a forecast as we head on into our Thanksgiving holiday. That's not so good for our Tuesday. On and off rain developing during the morning. That becomes heavy later in the day and lasts into very early on Wednesday. Most travel on Wednesday should be rain-free. That's how it appears now, in high temperatures in the 50s to near 60. Let's plan things out on the future scan. Thanksgiving looking okay. I think Black Friday for the sales, you'll have an increase in clouds, but now it really looks like most of the moisture stays south and east, at least initially, but that could change. Yeah, there we go. As we head into Sunday, on and off showers. Could even have some snow as you head into the northeast, but it looks like a kind of chilly rain as we head through, especially Sunday morning midday before that begins to pass north and east and conditions improve. Still could see a shower left over for Monday for getting home from Grandma's house as we head towards the end of the weekend. Highs in the 50s throughout the weekend.
Jonathan, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, a new lead in the hunt for Rachel Morin's killer, while investigators are now focusing their search on Los Angeles. BWI braces for the busiest holiday travel season in years. What you need to know before you leave.
We've got a rainy start to our holiday weekend ahead. I'm going to let you know when heavy rain's possible for your holiday travels out of our next weather maker. That's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
A Canton mother fearing for her life after a group of teenagers breaks into her home. Why this latest home invasion is raising questions about BPD's response time. A protest in front of City Hall tonight calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, latest on the ongoing conflict in the Middle East as the death toll continues to rise.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala. New developments tonight in the Morgan State shooting with another suspect in custody tonight. Let's get right over to Kai at the Alert Desk. Kai.
Mary, a second suspect in the Morgan State shooting has been arrested. 18-year-old Javon Williams is facing attempted murder charges for his alleged role in the campus shooting last month. 5 people were hurt in that shooting. Police identified Williams as a suspect soon after the shooting happened. He was arrested in D.C. last week. Now, one other person, a 17-year-old suspect, is facing charges for the Morgan State shooting. Mary?
All right, here we go. Let's take a look at what's going on the HD radar. It appears that as we head through the next 24 hours, rain is going to begin moving in, and some of that could be on the heavy side. Take a look. HD radar showing us that we've got a tornado watch all the way down here into the Gulf of Mexico, and then also a wind advisory and some winter weather advisories out to our west. Thankfully not in our zone, but it does appear that we are going to have some impacts from this thing. Take a look on our Tuesday, 41 degrees at 8 a.m., cloudy and cool, and temperatures, they don't rise very much. Only around 50 during the afternoon, showers as we move into the afternoon hours as well. And some of those could become heavy at times Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Then during the day on Wednesday, I think we get rid of most of the rain, although it's going to get a little breezy. Temperature's going to be in the 50s. And then Thanksgiving, well, we'll talk about that coming up in a couple of minutes. Can't be worse than Tuesday, right? That's all in my Weather Authority forecast.
Jonathan, thank you. Well, TSA at BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport bracing for holiday travel. Members of the staff today warning the public proper preparation before you get in line could be the difference between making and missing your flight.
Along with travel experts across the industry, we anticipate that this will be the busiest travel period in several years. Airline and passenger traffic have grown, reaching levels not seen since the pandemic.
It's not just the airport you need to be prepared for, though. 964,000 Marylanders are expected to hit the road this week. A mother feared for her life when a group of teens scaled her home and broke in from an upper deck in Canton. Police took more than an hour to respond. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor spoke with that mother to find out how she's coping tonight.
That's right. I spoke to a mother who says a terrifying break-in has shattered her sense of security here in Canton, not only because her sleep was suddenly interrupted by a masked intruder, but also because she says police took over an hour to respond.
Now I'm really struggling with feeling comfortable in our house.
On a typically quiet street in the heart of Canton.
I was half asleep, didn't think much of it.
Friday night rumblings inside a young family's row home initially ignored.
My husband was out celebrating a friend's birthday. Probably 11:30, I heard what sounded like my husband coming back.
Mere moments after tucking her children into bed.
She was having a nightmare, so I brought her upstairs.
A mother of 2 girls, ages 1 and 3, who asked we not show her face.
I just don't want them to know what I look like. And
suddenly coming face to face with a nightmare of her own.
I saw through the glass door where our bed faces a body drop down from the high roof.
A group of masked men dressed in black breaking in from above and through the back door.
We made eye contact. He was a teen, 16, 17 at most.
Without hesitation, the mother grabbing her daughters, barricading them in a second-floor bedroom and calling 911 for help.
I really had no time to really think. It was just the action of needing to protect my children.
But she says that help.
They didn't think this was an urgent matter.
Was over an hour away.
How in the world would it, does it take that long till when it was like an active burglary?
Several neighbors living along Hudson and Decker Street sharing similar stories on social media. One writing, "I heard them on my roof. I was so scared I bolted out of bed." Another sharing this surveillance video of a suspected intruder hopping from house to house.
I later learned that we had several neighbors that had made 3 911 calls prior to the break-in because they saw it all happening. They saw these kids jumping walls and jumping in and out of backyards and then scaling up to people's roof decks.
How can residents feel safe when a break-in happens and it takes police an hour to respond, especially a mother with young children inside?
Yeah, so I spoke to both Major Saunders, who's the major for Southeast, as well as Commissioner Worley, just to express my incredible concern.
Canton's Councilman Zeke Cohen claiming BPD leadership assuring him they'd be investigating the incident.
Any response that takes that long is just completely unacceptable.
But BPD spokesperson Lindsay Eldridge sending Fox 45 a statement this afternoon reading in part, quote, "We responded to the scene as quickly as possible." Eldridge going on to claim the suspect was able to enter the home through an unlocked door and sent a video on burglary prevention.
An hour police response time is deplorable. It's just horrible.
Upgrades to their home security system was this family's first response, especially knowing when minutes matter. The quickest police response could be over an hour away.
It does not make me feel comfortable living here knowing that that's how long it takes to get help when you really need it.
The family says that the intruders managed to steal an Alexa, power tools, and a laptop, totaling about $3,000. But they also say they are just relieved that no one was injured. Reporting in Canton, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Taking a look now at the Fox box, College Park's former mayor Patrick Wohan is sentenced to 30 years in prison after pleading guilty to more than 60 counts of distributing child pornography and more than 40 counts of possession of child pornography. Lawyers representing Rachel Marin's family are asking Los Angeles area high schools to hand out flyers with her suspected killer's picture. Police say DNA from the scene is linked to a crime in LA where the suspect is captured on security camera footage. A bomb threat at Owings Mills High School forced an evacuation this morning. Police responded around 9 a.m. and determined the threat was not credible. Local leaders gathered to celebrate the groundbreaking of a new elementary school, Deer Park Elementary School, promising it will help address overcrowding issues throughout the county school system. Well, as the Restaurant Association of Maryland says D.C. is feeling the impact of changes to pay for servers and bartenders, Fox 45 News has learned there's talk of bringing the same model here to Baltimore City. Fox 45's Amy Simpson has more on what we're learning tonight.
A source inside City Hall tells me there's legislation being drafted to raise the minimum wage for tipped workers here in the city. But some inside the industry say this could be bad news for servers and bartenders. In Baltimore's Little Italy,
and they usually go, oh, let's get some Italian.
Cafe Gia is getting ready for the holiday season.
So I know we're going to be busy probably Wednesday night, then Friday and Saturday night, because they want to break free from the turkeyness of it all.
But post-pandemic and amidst soaring inflation, this small business owner says it's been a tough few years, trying not to raise prices for customers.
We had to be smart about it.
Now news of another possible challenge on the horizon, as a source inside Baltimore City Hall tells Fox 45 News there's legislation being drafted to increase the city's minimum wage for tipped workers. Right now, Maryland's tipped wage sits at $3.63 an hour.
It's going to put a hurting on a lot of restaurants. The guests will assume that they're getting paid $15 an hour. They will not tip. And in 90% of the situations, that means that that server will be making less than they did before.
This event page also seen online, titled Bill Introduction for One Fair Wage in Baltimore, scheduled for Wednesday night, December 6th, inviting people to join efforts to raise the hourly tipped wage to the state's minimum wage. But right now, no agenda item for this is on council's calendar.
3 times this year alone, this type of legislation has been defeated because of the overwhelming opposition from tipped employees.
The Restaurant Association of Maryland says similar efforts statewide, plus in both Montgomery and Prince George's counties, prompted hundreds of tipped workers to speak out.
They are looking to save their tips, and they're looking to keep the current tipping system in place. The reason being, they earn significantly more than minimum wage.
The Employment Policies Institute also predicting a failed attempt here.
The reason they have failed repeatedly is because tipped workers have shown up in opposition to what they're trying to do. And I expect something very similar is going to happen in Baltimore.
As this small business in Little Italy says it would feel the impact.
I think to just wave a wand and say this is how we're going to do it for everybody, I think that's a big mistake.
Now I've reached out to the council member reportedly drafting this bill. We'd like to know what the proposal will look like and when it'll be introduced. But so far, no response. In Baltimore, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
A rally at Baltimore City Hall calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. More from downtown and the latest from the Middle East.
I'm Scott Thuman in Washington, where President Biden turned 81 on Monday. So what does that mean for his re-election chances?
Now, a Fox 45 News Alert in 3, 2, 1.
A rally in front of Baltimore City Hall tonight calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. The People's Power Assembly is demanding the mayor and city council pass 2 resolutions. First, for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, and the second to separate Baltimore City from all Israeli and Zionist institutions. They say that city employees associated with Israeli institutions are contributing to ongoing violence against civilians in Gaza. City Council member Yitzi Schleifer has been a strong supporter of Israel. The White House says tonight that they are close to a deal with Israel and Hamas for a temporary pause in the war in exchange for Hamas releasing a significant number of hostages. Mary?
Hi, thank you. Well, another Monday marked another notable birthday in Washington as President Biden turned 81 years old today. But as he competes for another 4-year term, it is prompting many to wonder if the oldest man to hold that office is both physically and mentally fit for another stint as president. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman joins us live from Capitol Hill with some of those concerns tonight. Scott?
Yeah, Mary, good evening. And age, not just a sticking point for Republicans. In fact, a University of New Hampshire poll showed 56% of Democrats said age is their biggest concern about President Biden when it comes to him as a candidate.
This is the 76th anniversary of this event. And I want you to know I wasn't there in the first one.
That age-old tradition of pardoning turkeys before Thanksgiving, but it's the age of the pardoner getting more attention as President Biden Monday turned 81 years old.
Congratulations, birds.
And as he runs for re-election, murmurs about his ability are growing louder.
I would put the president's stamina, president's wisdom, ability to get this done on behalf of the American people against anyone.
It's not just the actual age issue. After all, he may potentially have a rematch against Donald Trump, who would be 78 on Election Day himself. But it's mental fitness that's being examined. Less than a third of Americans think Biden is competent to do the job, and 64% say they're worried about his health and mental acuity. Should he win, he would be 86 at the end of a second term, and there's no arguing that one of the most important jobs in the world can certainly take a toll. Of the last two presidents who served 8 years, George W. Bush and Barack Obama looked noticeably different, although there's no way to tell just how President Biden would hold up after another 5 years on the job. In the meantime, CNN reports Biden's staff is trying to eliminate his gaffes and project vigor, getting him orthotics to help with his stiff gait and provide him smaller, shorter stairs for boarding Air Force One. Though pundits say there's a way Democrats should pitch it to voters.
Do they choose the president who has aged into wisdom and empathy and experience? Or do they choose Trump, who has aged into kind of chaos and anger and narcissism?
And we told you that Biden is the oldest American president, but next closest, Ronald Reagan. He was 77 at the end of his second term, Mary.
And Scott, how else is Biden's team pushing back on some of this criticism?
Well, they're saying it's all about experience, that in turbulent times such as these, it's important to have someone with a steady hand and wisdom and nuance to handle those issues. And they're just hoping that voters will see him in that same light.
All right, we will see. Scott Thuman live in D.C. tonight. Thank you.
Well, the next weather maker moving ever closer. Pretty nice day today, although cooler by about 10 degrees than yesterday with highs only in the low 50s. Winter weather advisories with some of that cooler air out toward Garrett County in the mountains and also into southwestern Pennsylvania and then back into mountainous portions of northwestern Virginia and West Virginia. So that's the higher elevations, but nonetheless shows you how cold this system's going to be as it comes in. On the southern side, there are tornado watches in the middle where there's big air change and air shift, air mass changes. We've got wind advisories where all this is coming together across portions of the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. What's going to come at us? No, it's not the wintry precipitation, although if you are headed west toward Pittsburgh, West Virginia, family out that way, you could have some icy spots tomorrow morning. It's not going to be the severe weather, but it is going to be potentially a kind of a wind-driven rain that's going to get here, and especially tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, could get very ugly around here. Clouds already increasing. There's the rain that's over portions of the Mississippi Valley. There it goes, hauling east tomorrow. Tomorrow's not a great travel day, and it's one of the busiest ones of the year. So you're going to see that on and off rain could become heavy at times later in the day, and especially tomorrow night. 45 now, winds are calm. Humidity at 51%. Temperatures all across the board, generally in the 40s, a couple upper 30s up Elkton way. Temperatures are colder than they were yesterday at the same time. Colder today by about 10 degrees on our high temperatures. And it looks like overnight into early tomorrow morning, a time to get away, maybe for Thanksgiving. All right, if you want to make some early travel, should be fine. But by about 8, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, some drizzle, some sprinkles move in. And by about lunchtime, the rain's coming down good and on and off. Steady rain, if not becoming heavy rain toward tomorrow at sunset. And oh, wow, look at this tomorrow night. Temperatures begin to warm up actually overnight into likely the low 50s for a time, maybe even mid 50s. Then that passes east with heavy rain through the overnight hours. And by about 8, 9 o'clock into early on Wednesday, by the way, things clear out. So Wednesday's a better looking day with high temperatures closer to 60. Otherwise, again, 1 to 3 inches of rain. We need the rain. The timing just not so great here. I'm going to let you know how things shape up for Thanksgiving and beyond for Black Friday sales. That's up in my exclusive 10-day forecast.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk. Here's a unique view of the Matts Creek fire burning in the southwestern Virginia mountains. The wildfire has now burned more than 10,000 acres. A wide range of weather in Utah, from snow in the mountains to this rainbow shining down from above. And sunrises across the nation continue to impress, including this one near Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Want to see your weather photos and videos on TV? Click Chime In on this station's website to share.
Is we should celebrate what she did and what she was able to accomplish.
Remembering former First Lady Rosalind Carter, hear from those who knew her on a personal level and the legacy she leaves behind. Our nation continues to mourn the death of former First Lady Rosalind Carter. Mrs. Carter passed away yesterday at the age of 96 with her family by her side. Tonight, we're hearing from those who knew Mrs. Carter well. Gloria Ruthvini reports from our Sinclair sister station in Macon, Georgia.
I was greatly honored to work for President Mrs. Carter, but specifically for Mrs. Carter.
Former Macon City Councilman Rick Hutto has known the Carters for years and was part of President Jimmy Carter's campaign, later serving as White House Appointments Secretary to the Carter family. Following the death of the former First Lady, Rosalind Carter, on Sunday, Hutto reflects on her impact of her multifaceted legacy.
The biggest thing that she did throughout her life, including as First Lady of Georgia and then First Lady of the United States, was mental health. She personally had some experiences with family members when she was younger. She saw basically the stigma attached. If you said to someone, "I'm being treated for cancer," they would go, "Oh, bless you, let me pray for you." But if you said, "I'm being treated for a mental disease or a mental illness," they would immediately recoil. They were horrified that somebody would admit to having a mental illness. So she worked very, very hard for that.
Speaking on the impact that she will leave behind, Hutto commended her work to break the stigma around those suffering with mental illness.
All of us are sad to lose her. I think what we should do, and I think she would agree, is we should celebrate what she did.